Three, two, one, and we're on, Chris. We're on. This is the SHB Unfiltered podcast, episode number
32.
32. I put 31 in the description.
Oh,
God.
31 or is it 32?
It's 32. It's 32.
Wow.
I'm still living in the past. I'm still living in the past. Not sure what happened there. Not sure what happened there.
You made me second guess that then.
Not sure what happened there. It's episode number 31 plus 1. My name is Ruben Pillai and I'm with Christopher Jackson, aka CJ. Brought to you by StopHoldingBack charity, who support people who stutter and strive to improve the lives of people who stutter, their employability, their personal development, and their skills to succeed in life. And that's why we're here. We launched this podcast when lockdown started in London. We've been running every single day, live streaming, stay scheming, podcasting, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, iTunes when I put the link in, all sorts. So yeah, it's been fantastic so far. We're into second month now then, 32. And it's been a really, really good month of just smashing out podcasts and chatting every evening. Chris, did you enjoy yesterday's reaction video episode?
I did, yeah, I did. After that episode, I was spending a bit more time on YouTube after that. And I was looking at other videos and other situations. And I started to look into the sports people. And I started to look at a few difficult experiences that a few sportsmen had with interviews. So I looked at one from James Rodriguez. I looked at one from Ron Harper. There was a one where someone uploaded a video criticizing ESPN for making Ron Harper do a telephone interview and give his opinion on whatever the situation was. I think it was the NBA Finals. And they were criticizing him, criticizing ESPN. But I thought, should that be criticized, really? Wouldn't it be worse if they said to Ron Harper, no, you can't come on a phone call interview because you have a severe speech impairment? For me, that would be worse. That would be discrimination, right? So I think it's quite, you see mixed opinions. You see people thinking, oh, why are they doing that to him? Well, I'm sure Ron Harper wouldn't have taken the interview if he didn't want to. He's retired. He doesn't owe the NBA anything. So I think people need to look more positively at it, that Ron Harper took the action. He still got involved with the interview, and ESPN were pretty accommodating to him, and they were allowing him to take his time. They wasn't rushing him. And yeah, I personally didn't see the problem with it. I was more happy that a stutterer had put themselves in that situation and was happy to do so. Whereas other people were like, oh, why are they doing that to him? So yeah, I started to look into it after. So I did really enjoy the episode last night.
It does play into the kind of old way of thinking where this person's got a stutter or some kind of problem, let's hide them away in the attic when people come over, just so just keeping things looking clean. But it's fine for people to actually take part in these interviews regardless of any kind of impediment that they have or any type of challenge. It could not affect his thought process and the way he analyzes the sport. And so yeah, it's a really, really good thing, and we don't really see that much of it. But I do understand that it isn't, I mean, it is the type of thing that your voice does get judged. It's actually seen as a reflection of who you are as a person sometimes, your characteristics, your attributes, etc. So just a side thing. It isn't really stuttering related, but I do remember. Do you remember much of the 2002 World Cup and the pundits?
To be honest, I remember more of the 1998 World Cup than 2002. I'm struggling to remember that. 2002 was the year Brazil won it.
Yeah, in South Korea and Japan.
Yeah.
So with the punditry, they had a few people on. So they had like Peter Reid at the time, who was coming off a strong run with the Leeds, and they had a few other people from kind of the 90s, and they got Paul Gascoigne on the podcast too. Sorry, not the podcast, but the punditry panel.
Yeah.
Problem was like he used to actually turn up like smashed up his face to a point where he was on kind of the desk, and when they were asking questions, he was slurring his words in his Geordie accent and stuff. And like I think after the first week, they sent him packing because he was just not articulating himself properly, and probably the alcohol played a part in it, in the decision to sack him off. But they didn't fully publicize that part of it, so it may have seemed as if they got rid of him because he wasn't as articulate as some of the rest of the punditry team, which I thought at the time was quite interesting. Maybe they didn't want to make a big deal about his struggles with alcohol.
Yeah.
So they just shifted it purely on his ability to articulate.
I'm sure that the newspapers must.
Oh, they enjoyed it. They loved it. They absolutely loved it.
ITV cut Paul Gascoigne because he was on set drunk or something. I'm sure they come up with something.
They laid proper. Yeah, I do remember because I was a bit of a geek at that time. I used to collect back page articles.
Okay.
Of big football events, and so from some of the Euros and the World Cups, I have the back pages of the day after the England games and some of the big games in the league as well. So I do vividly remember that stuff. Good fun, good fun. Chris, I was gonna say, do you know what do you know what the topic is today? Because I'm sure you've actually read the incorrect Facebook title. Do you know what the topic is today?
What, that title is incorrect now?
Well, just the number, Chris. Don't worry.
Oh, right. Okay.
The rest of it's fine.
Okay. So the topic for today is, what impact can SHB have in the next year?
Go on then. What impact can SHB have in the next year?
I think SHB could have a really meaningful impact in the next year. I think what's crucial for us is not to aim too big too soon. We're not trying to save the whole world, even though that would be amazing if we could, and we will do all we can to reach a point where we can have as much impact as possible. But I think within this next year, it's very important to change the lives of the people that between us we currently have the capacity to do. I don't think we will be biting off more than we can chew. And I think in the next year, we will be trying to change the lives of a few key people. That is what I think the impact of SHB should be for the first year. This could be done through a few different services that we offer. Of course, the video program that we will be releasing very soon, our one-to-one coaching program, our online coaching program. But also, I think if we move away from coaching, just offering people a chance to socialize, a chance to meet other people that stutter, I think that will be key. And once this lockdown is over, and hopefully we can get back to some type of normality in terms of social distancing, I think a great impact we will have is we will be giving people the opportunity to mix with other people that stutter without pressure of enrolling in any type of program. Just being around people sharing experiences without any coaching, any technique being the focal point of that meeting. And I think that is what we're going to be aiming for in the next year. I mean, how does that compare to what you had in your mind, Ruben? It's important that we're on the same level.
To be straight up with you, Chris, these were things that we have discussed in our meetings, our strategy meetings, and all these kind of different times when we've had these formal chances to actually sit down and talk about plans. I think that we do have a few challenges, and to be honest, at times, yes, like it does feel like we are doing quite a lot of work, but we aren't progressing as fast as we have wanted to. And I think you can probably agree with that assessment as well. Between like kind of the amount of work AO does in the background is incredible. And I'm not just saying that because I just saw him join the Facebook feed, but to be honest, I should be thanking him a lot more for some of the stuff he does, because without his work in the background, quite a few of these things that we do and we enjoy, we would not be able to run them. But if we aren't careful, we are going to burn ourselves out, I think, really quickly, because of the level of work we are doing and the amount, and B, it doesn't feel like we are getting support at times from some of the wider group of people who we maybe at first felt that kind of they would be around at those times. But with all things, after like you have an idea and you get this hype, and then people get on board, but the longer it goes on, you slowly find out who's really in for the long haul. And probably it's a good thing as well, because when this thing really kicks off, you really want to have everyone pointing in the right direction. But it would kind of it would be easy to say that we have all these plans and give a list to it and everything, but in the end we are still human as well. We have our lives and everything, and things and happening in the background, and you can't plan these things. Like, say for example, the virus as well, this came out of the blue, and then who's to say it isn't going to come back before the end of the year in the same way. What I'm trying to get at is, like, these are some of the challenges I see. Us burning out, taking too much on, setting our targets too high now, and then B, kind of that turns into slow progress. But just me saying that now, how do you think we can actually kind of rectify some of those thoughts, if that actually comes into fruition over the next few months? Because the amount of things that we have given ourselves to do, to target, it's always great to aim really high and push yourself and challenge yourself. But we want to make sure that we can also fulfill promises too.
Yeah, that's key. That's key, because Stop Holding Back ultimately wants to focus on coaching people to improve their speech. That's what we are here for. We want to help people become better speakers. We know what we are capable of at the moment. We know what our capacity is. So we will not be putting ourselves in a position to overpromise and underdeliver. That is where we will be very careful. What we do not want, and what the last thing you want, is a charity can set up and they can push themselves, they can promote everywhere, they can put themselves out there, they can jump on every interview, go on a TV show. But if you don't have the capacity to deal with whatever is going to come as a result of that mass advertising campaign, then people are going to come to your charity and they're going to get an experience, and that is not what they expect. And especially with coaching people with their speech, it's very important. You only get one chance. That person's putting their trust in you. You have to make sure that you are able to give them the right amount of time and attention that they need in order to make the improvements. And that's why you have to be careful. You cannot be opening up and say, yeah, we can accept 200 people this year, because then everyone is going to get a diluted coaching service. Everyone is going to be getting a tiny percentage of our time when really they need a lot of it. And we're not about taking on as many people as we can. We're about helping as many people as we can. And we know how many people we realistically can help within this next year. So,
And and I'm just going to say, like, that's the danger as well when you kind of expose yourself too much and make all these promises in the public forum, and people come to you, and then if you give yourself too much to do and you can't promise, then that's it. That is the end, because a lot of these things are actually based on promises, and if you can't deliver them, it's probably a good time to actually go on to the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is currently in the UK now. I can see that there's a few other kind of smaller organizations or individuals springing up and actually doing their own coaching, own video stuff and seminars, etc., which is always great, because I think that the way stuttering is, like, everyone is different personality, and stuttering is kind of linked to your personality in a way. So the more people you have actually in the field doing work, it could be beneficial for the wider stuttering community, because they can go to the group or the person that they maybe relate to the most. So, but that's one big positive. Now, what do you think for SHB could be the challenge here with, I guess, kind of like building the charity over the next year, but having to navigate through a bit of a weird field of subgroups and splinter groups and larger charities within the stuttering community? Probably a better way to target that question to you is, how do you think SSB should approach it? How do you think we should approach it? Should we try to be really welcoming to everyone, and if people aren't kind of the right fit for the SHB program when they go through screening? Do we signpost them to other people who we feel they could help them better? Or do we, I don't know, like, what do you think would be the best approach to actually navigate through the minefield, I'd say, of the UK stuttering community?
I think the best approach to do, to be honest, Ruben, and it's going to sound a bit corny, and you may accuse me of copping out again, but I truly believe that the route that we're trying to take during this lockdown is the best route, because a lot of people are not putting themselves out there enough. If you have got a program, if you are trying to bring out a course or whatever it is you're trying to do to help people, people need to see you speaking as much as possible in challenging situations as possible. People have to be able to buy into you. They have to trust you. So just getting a mobile phone, setting an Instagram page up and talking in Instagram stories is not enough, in my opinion, to convince people that you can coach them to get through their most challenging situations. You have to have, the proof has to be in the pudding. What is their most challenging situation? Have you done something similar, and are you doing that consistently? Or, because Ruben, as you know, people can go on a program and they can do their most challenging thing straight after that, but then 6 months after that, are they comfortable to do that same thing again?
The majority of the time, no, but there are people who do, and those people would be staying on top of things and kind of taking the steps to actually maintaining their level. But the vast majority, sorry mate.
But this is the thing, you need to show consistency. Like I always said, people do not care about the journey, they care about your result. So you need to be showing people that over a period of time, you're consistent. So now your result is, I'm consistent. You know what I mean? And I think the approach that we take now, especially with this podcast going live every day, there is no excuses for not taking on a speaking challenge. There is no excuse to not being consistent. Like, if you want something, I genuinely believe in this saying, if you want something, you will find a way. If you don't, you will find an excuse. And with us, we genuinely want to push ourselves. We genuinely want to inspire people. We genuinely want people to look at us and think, well, look, they're doing it. What's my excuse? They're in lockdown. I'm in lockdown. You know, they're still doing something to challenge themselves. And I think that's a strategy that SHB needs to take. And I think everyone needs to take that. People that are struggling with their speech need to see that you are able to execute what you preach on a regular basis. It's not just when that phone is on story mode and you've recorded that video, because nobody knows how many takes it took you to create that video. Nobody knows if that's live. Nobody knows really how good your speech is, because there's people that do not work on their speech that can talk in front of a video camera. So people need to have trust in you. People that coach me, I had full trust in them. I knew that they were able to talk the talk and walk the walk.
Just a side story, like I generally do on this podcast. I watched this documentary once of this these two guys who were, no, not two, but just the one guy who was training kung fu in China. So he went to one of the monasteries, and they did like a documentary, because the guy was a filmmaker as well. I think I saw it on Discovery Channel a long time ago, and it was really cool. But like when you go there, they are proper Shaolin people who's in charge of the monastery. The types you see in the films, exact same clothes, beard, or the pointy one. You can literally put them in a film and they would be the characters. They are already dressed up, and they have training since they were really, really small. There's clips of the boys doing with their training. One of the sessions, they had to stand against a wall. Instead of doing a handstand, just stand with their head on the floor to strengthen their neck for like half an hour to an hour or something. But every morning, so the masters who are in charge of all the training, I think every morning or like every week or every month, I forgot the frequency, apologize, but they have to go through a test, and it's a regular test to show that they are still at the level to actually teach this art. And it's messed up, man. So what they do is, there's this sword. The sword is like vertically is pointing up, and these guys, they get on it and they like balance on it with their abs, so it's sticking into their abs, and they like spin around, and they got their shirts up as well, so it's getting the skin, and then they're like propped on like an umbrella, and they like spin on it, and then they come off, and essentially if they survive, then they pass the test, or if it pierces them, then they haven't passed, and there are worse things to happen. Like I said, it's a side story. It isn't completely related to what we're talking about, but I'm going to bring it back and say, in that same way, your students will have full trust in you if you are able to pull off that feat, because they believe in the power of chi, which is breathing. They believe the breath controls everything in the body, and they can focus their breath and focus their energy to that one spot where the sword was piercing. They can focus their entire bodily energy to that one spot to make it indestructible. And so that's what they're teaching students. Now, they didn't do that, then how would they actually win their trust and belief of these guys from a young age? In the same way, we need to, I wouldn't say balance on the swords, but put ourselves through the mill, work on our speech in some crazy situations ourselves, because only then will we be able to actually effectively coach. Because if I'm doing it in these situations in the real world, and it isn't just in some room in the center of my comfort zone for a weekend, if I'm doing it in the real world and demonstrating it, documenting it, sharing it, then this will give belief to people coming to me or coming to SHB for help. That, okay, so this guy actually knows what he's doing. Anyway, my side story.
That is one of the craziest tests I've ever heard of in my entire life.
Man, it's mad.
Is that a true story, or is that something out of a book or something? Is that something that you read somewhere?
I watched the documentary. I watched it myself, and they literally showed them spinning on the sword.
Listen, we're not going to be spinning on any swords for anyone, but we do try to lead by example. Like every day we are working on our speech. We want to become better than we were yesterday. Now, yes, we do have blips. Yes, we do stutter. Yes, we do have blocks. But I do think it's important for people to understand that we implement this every single day. This is part of our life. We're striving to become better. And unless you have a coach that is working on that, what example do you have to look at to ask questions to know, okay, I'm going to ask him that question, and I know he's genuinely been through this, and I know that he genuinely goes through it every single day, and that way we can help manage people's expectations as well, because you have more experience. You can learn all the tools and techniques you want. Through experience is when you really learn how to deal with your stuttering pattern of behavior. That's when you really learn. So I think that's a strategy that we will be taking anyway, just to continue to lead by example. Apologies.
What was that?
I didn't realize that my iPhone was connected to this computer, and I got an iMessage, which I haven't received an iMessage for I don't know how long, and it comes in the middle of a podcast. But hey.
Still learning, Chris. Still learning, right?
Well, at least I know how to turn the mute button on and off.
All right. Easy. Okay, I'm going to shift it a bit, but this would be actually interesting for you. What do you think, like, so in regards to SHB, this podcast and just kind of progress, what do you think will be my challenge over the next year? So that's a bit of a curveball question. So what do you think would be my challenge? And if you need a bit of time to think about it, I can maybe do the same for you quickly and just to
well, what challenge in terms of what?
Me personally, to actually be successful in, I guess, like in the role I've taken up, me working within charity, me actually contributing and actually with coaching, with VP and all that kind of stuff, and generally around it. What do you think will be my challenge? And then I can share a point for you as well.
I think your biggest challenge will be time management, because your job is a very demanding job. Your job is a very demanding job. And I can imagine that there are times when you come home and you're stressed and you've had a long day, early mornings. So I think time management will be a challenge, but I think consistency will be a challenge, because we have the podcast that we are going to be consistent with. We have the live Q&As every Saturday that we're going to be consistent with. We have the social meetups that we're going to be consistent with. So that's what I think your biggest challenge will be.
Chris, take off. Turn your phone off or something. And you're on mute, by the way. You're on mute, Chris. It's all falling apart.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. I don't know how to turn it off. It's coming through my computer for some reason, but hopefully the next one comes with my microphone.
And don't forget the mute button, Chris. People in glass houses should not throw. No, well, it was on earlier when you were trying to explain yourself.
I apologize, Ruben.
It's fine, don't worry.
They're back.
If anyone got impacted by that high-pitched sound, blame Chris, don't blame me. Sorry.
I apologize.
Yeah, sorry. You were talking about how great I am. Go on.
Yeah, there are going to be challenges. I think another challenge you're going to have is your impact from other people in the stuttering community who you were very close with that are part of another organization. I think that's another challenge that you're going to have to deal with. But I think you're very...
I don't really think like that is a challenge that could impact the stuff we do, to be honest. I was thinking more...
Like what do you think your biggest challenge will be over the next year?
I think personally, something that I've been maybe struggling with currently is handling some people's BS. I think for some reason with certain things I see or hear, my patience has been wearing thinner and thinner. But I think that's more of kind of, it comes back to the time management thing, because like time is premium now, and the amount of time we have had to actually deal with time wasters and kind of like different, I can't go into complete details, but just things just taking time unnecessarily. That has made me a bit less patient to tolerate BS. And I think that's going to be a struggle going forward, because it was up to me to actually change that. Because when we start having to actively deal with different groups and different organizations, you're going to be hearing different things and from people, and some things may seem a bit BSy. So it's up to me to actually get my patience back in that sense, and be a bit more tactful, like I have been in the past. Do you agree? Or
yeah, but what I was going to add to that, or what I was going to ask you is, do you think you're going to find it hard to bite your tongue when you do receive a little bit of that BS, because you have put so much into the stuttering community that people tend to expect others to act the way that they do, and recently you haven't been receiving that same kind of treatment that you have given to the stuttering community? So do you think that like there could be a time where you might want to reach out to someone that's in the stuttering community that might be able to help us with something, and in the past you've helped them, like the various events that you've been invited to speak at, you've never let anybody down, you've always turned up, you've always showed an interest, you've always done whatever you could. And I know that because a couple of them you've dragged me to as well, and we've both done it. So not getting the same thing back, do you think that will add to your BS issue and add to your patience issue?
I think it could, but it's up to me to actually keep reminding myself of a few affirmations that I have actually followed through in the past, which is kind of, it's just up to me to do my part, then it's up to them to do their part. Now, if I do my part, then I have a clear conscience, and that's it. And if they can't follow through, then that's on them. But I think the reason why it's been actually hitting me a bit more is because it's directly affecting like some of the things we do as a group, and that's not cool, is it? It's just not cool. But like, there will be a time when so for some of the groups, I've been helping them quite a bit. Now, I will not actually expect anything back in return, because at the times when I was helping them, I didn't do it in the frame of mind where, oh, in the future I can call in a favor. That's not the way I have operated, because I just did it purely because A, I wanted to help, and B, I thought it would be cool to be part of that experience. Now, it's up to them if they want to return their favor. If they don't, it's just more of a reflection on who they are than who I am, because in the end, I've already done my part before. But if they actually, or if anything actually causes, I guess, damage or hurt to the charity as a whole or the people around me, then that's when you can't hold back because at some point you have to like stand up for yourself. Like when I was growing up, my mum, she always told me, like, always stand up for yourself. Don't let anyone walk on top of you for your speech or for anything, because if that happens, then they'll keep doing it, and people will keep doing it for the rest of your life. So it's up to you to stop them. It's not up to them to actually stop themselves after they've started. Because if they're going to do it, they have already decided that they're going to do it. It's up to you to stop them and send a message out to everyone else. And that's the way I've kind of grown up. And in the same way, like, this is something I want to protect, because I feel strongly about our mission as a group and the stuff we do, because I think we can actually do some really good work and help a few people if they want it. We are waiting. Yeah. Go on, Chris. Do you want me to tell you and everyone else your failings? I'm joking.
Yeah, go on.
I'm joking.
I'll grab my notepad and I'll start making my list.
I'm joking. I think, to be fair, it's something that you have actually improved on, but you need to pull the trigger, and so sometimes pull the trigger by yourself. That's a big thing. When's the last time you did like a public talk or anything? And yeah, when is last time, kind of like, say in the past 12 months or so, how many public speaking situations have you been in?
I'd say in the last 12 months. By public, how many people qualifies as public? What crowd size?
12 or more,
okay.
15 or more, yeah.
Well, I've been, I reckon, at 5 or 6.
5 or 6?
Yeah, I think 6. So one of them was not a very nice experience. The other one was a christening. I've been to a few Toastmasters events, and there was another one. I'm trying to think of it now. I can't remember. Can't remember. Yeah, but obviously public speaking and putting myself out there is something that I need to do more of. And I think it's something that everyone can do more of, except for you, Ruben, because you are hardcore on the Toastmasters. You are constantly doing your public speech work. But yeah, it is something that I need to do more. And
is there a reason why you haven't done as much recently?
Well, I think, I don't want to talk about the speech that I'd done last year, but the fact that I'd done that speech in the circumstances, and especially the way my speech was at that time,
yeah,
proved to me that I know that I will do any public speech at any time. That proved to me that I don't have to do it every week to prove to myself that I will take on that challenge, because there's no one that's ever done anything as hard as that, or harder than that, sorry. Who would have done things as hard? But that, like, if I could do that, I could do anything. So the fact that I did that, and after that, just because of what's happening in my life, work, focusing on work, focusing on public speaking hasn't really been a priority for me. Working on my speech consistently and making sure that I'm doing everything I want to in life is a priority, but public speaking wasn't a priority for me within the last 8 months. But priorities change all the time. There's no reason why that wouldn't become a priority for me, and it is now. after this lockdown, I can't wait to join a Toastmasters to go there. You know, I'm already going to get involved in Toastmasters on a Zoom level, but I do enjoy that feeding off the crowd in person. So I can't wait to join my local Toastmasters, which is in South Woodford. And I'm going to continue with the Toastmasters that we've been a part of. So public speaking is definitely something that I want to do more of. But I want to move away from the stuttering community as well. I want to take on...
Where you going, Chris?
Well,
where you going, bro?
Well, there's local business networks. And I wasn't really interested in business networks before. I was quite happy to be part of my business, just worry about my business. I didn't really look into it much. And a friend of mine contacted me and said, look, why don't you come to the BNI that I go to? And I was like, why? I don't really need to. How does it work? And he goes, well, every week, everybody gets up. They have 60 seconds to talk about their business and what they're trying to get out. Now, when he said that, I was like, that's a good speaking challenge. So forget the business network side of it. I just want to go to get up and speak in front of everyone. And apparently there's between 50 and 60 people there every week. So these are other areas that I want to get involved in.
Really, really good. Really, really good, because that's one of the problems with, I guess, coaching, because you put so much time into actually coaching and building this thing that we're doing. You start focusing on your own individual journey, your own individual goals, because in the end, like, you will be coaching someone. Your journey is not their journey. Their journey is their journey. You are part of their journey. And so it's up to you to continue your journey, because you haven't finished. You haven't finished. And the reason why it's so important to continuously do public speaking, because yes, you had that difficult speech at that terrible time. However, like, it's different when you are having to actually do some kind of speech every week or every 2 weeks without fail. It's I see it like, you got football, you got the cup competition, and you got the league. The league is the bread and butter. You got to turn up every week, or you get found out. You got to play everyone twice. You can't hide.
That is the best analogy I've heard for that, because that's exactly what it is like.
And in the cup, you can, like, depending on the draw, depending on who's injured at that time, or you're in good form, you can catch a team out on away goals at a corner. But you can't do that for an entire season, playing in that way, just playing just to pull through. Now, the teams that win leagues, they're always the best team in that season. They may have close seasons where they're with someone else, and they could be the best two teams. But you will never get the third or fourth best team in the league win the league in that particular year. It would always be the best team or one of the best two. And that's the way you got to think of it, because if you don't, then you won't realize it now, but you will go backwards.
In terms of public speaking, yes. Yeah. 100% for sure. But in the last year, the focus has been on my business, driving a team and motivating a team. Working through a lot of challenges that we've had in business this year. So using speech to get through that, implementing things at work, getting employees to buy into your vision and believe in you that you are the right person for them to be working for me in the last year was a lot more important than doing the public speech, because the last year has been, in terms of business, has been growth mode. It has been, our business is in year 3 now. So year 3 is the year to really grow. So this is the year that I've been focusing a lot on it. So in terms of working on your speech, it's still consistent. It's still every day. It's still meaningful. It's still attacking situations that you never thought you could. Like, I never thought that I would have employees working for me, looking to me for instruction, inspiration, to like all these things that I couldn't comprehend that. And now it's shifted, you know, with Stephanie having a baby. She's not in the office that much. So I am the boss, as you like. So these things are important. This is where the proof is in the pudding. And yes, when you need to do a public speech, are you stepping up to the plate? Yes. Are you prepared to take it to the next level and commit when you realize you are not quite as good as you want to be? Yes, you might be better than the next person, but is that good enough for you? Are you always comparing yourself to the next person? If you are, then that's the level that you're always going to be at. But if you know you can do better, like I know, public speaking, I've got quite a bit more to learn, and I'm eager to learn it, and I'm excited to learn it, and I will be putting myself in the position to be able to enhance it and learn it. So that is the main thing. And it's good that you pointed that out, because it shows that I'm very self-aware and self-conscious, because what you've picked up on, I knew. So that is what I'm happy about.
Good work, Chris. Good work. Okay, this is the last question, and we can both answer it before we call it a day for the podcast. But if communication, so when you think of communication, you could think of the way you speak to people, the way you listen and interpret, public speaking, handling yourself in a group discussion, etc. If it was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, what belt are you? You on mute, bro. I was waiting for that.
You got me there.
Caught you out clean. Caught you out clean.
Regret saying that about you on mute button.
You're lucky on mute.
Jiu-Jitsu, I would say I'm at least a purple belt. At least a purple belt. But there's still more to learn. A lot more to learn. Because I would say there's people that are blue belts, but they still might freeze in a street environment, where a purple belt, I believe, would be 100% composed in a street fight. They'll be able to implement it. You know, a blue belt, people can be blue belts after 2 years, but they've never been punched in the face in their life. So what happens when you get punched in the face? What happens when you go into that public speech and you block on your opening word hard? Can you recover, or are you going to get knocked out?
Cool. Get on.
What about you? Would you say you're more towards the brown or the purple, like the higher end purple edging over to a brown belt? Or
yeah, you're gonna be quite surprised, because I see myself as more as one of those like 5-striped blue belts.
No, Ruben, no way. No way, man. No way.
But this is purely based on what I've seen and what I'm aspiring to within the public speaking world, within communication world. I've seen the way like people have handled Q&A within a room of 30 people after doing a 10-minute presentation or 20-minute presentation. I've seen things.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you're a blue belt. That just means that they're probably a red belt.
No, but they're levels and levels.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I see myself as like on the cusp of purple, but there's still like I'll probably be purple by the end of the year. If we say that way, so if there's grading in October or something, I will get my purple then. But there are a few things that I still need to do, still need to achieve, and still need to rise to actually to be a bona fide purple. I told you I'd surprise you with that answer.
I am very surprised because I personally don't agree with that. I personally do not agree with that. I think you're quite harsh on yourself there, if I'm honest. I think that there's a lot of people that you might look up to, but you might be ahead of them without realizing. I personally think that about you. Like at your wedding, I mean, your speech was spot on. Like it was spot on. And I've been to a lot of weddings. I've been to weddings where people making speeches are very good speakers, competent speakers. And I think that you're comparing yourself amongst the elite of the elite, and that's why your ranking is lower rather than looking at the masses and how well you deal with everyday life.
But screw the masses, right? Because like that's what I said, it's purely perspective and where you see your journey going to. Because I'm literally comparing it to some of the best I've seen either in person in a meeting or at a public speaking event or on the internet. And this is the way I'm kind of studying the art and working things to take myself to that level bit by bit. And that's why I'd say blue, because like it isn't always perfect, and by that I also mean it isn't always average as well. There are times when I'm like, man, that was rubbish.
Yeah, but can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I don't know about your BJJ club, but well, I'm pretty sure you have. Have you ever seen a purple belt spar with a black belt?
Oh yeah, of course.
So when you watch that, like I've sparred with a purple belt, and the purple belt was able to get pretty much anything they want. I mean, okay, I'll be able to escape.
Manhandled so many times.
Yeah, I'll be able to escape certain things, but it's only a matter of time before you're gonna get tapped out. Now, when a purple belt spars a black belt, it's the same thing for them. It's exactly the same sort of feeling. Okay, yeah, they might be able to escape more often. They might be able to, but eventually a black belt is pretty much toying with them. I've seen black belts toy with purple belts, and then I'd spar with that same guy and he's toying with me. So I'm just trying to think in my journey and what I'm trying to get out of life and the level that I want my speech to be at. There's people that can toy with me still, but there's people that I know that I am so far ahead of. And I'm talking about fluent speakers as well. There's fluent speakers that would never dream of doing the things that I do, that you do. You know, I've got cousins that look at me and they're like, how do you get up and talk like that? How do you do things like that? How, you know, and they've got perfectly fluent speech. But it's just, like you said, there's levels and there's levels.
Cool, Chris. And on that note, I think we can call it a day. I'm getting a bit hungry as well.
I agree. Let's call it a day.
Chris, thank you very much for episode 32. And I really mean it as well. Thank you very much for coming on today. It's been really good, really good, deep discussion, insight, and I think we were able to share with our listeners a few things about us, a few things about SHB, and a few things, I guess, about our personal and group plans for the upcoming year. So yes, let's get out of quarantine at some point, hopefully and safely.
Yeah.
And dude, we got so much to do. Let's get our heads down and make a difference.
Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do, so let's crack on.
Cool. Thank you very much, Chris. I'll let you do the honors and I'll press the relevant buttons. Over to you.
Cheers, guys. Remember, stop holding back.